Welcome, everyone, to the world of Tangled Yarns, where sheep cooperate to stop a cosmic horror. Because of course they do. Tangled Yarns is a cooperative board game for 1 to 6 players, ages 12 and up. It takes about 1 to 2 hours to play. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the board game, and even though I'm showing you Tabletop Simulator, I will be talking to how to set up the physical board game as well. In Tabletop Simulator, it's really easy. Just wait until all of the players have joined the game, and then you click here. And the game is automatically set up for the number of players who will be playing. It's a little bit more difficult in the physical world, so let's talk through the steps that you have to do to set up the board game there. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to place the 6 border tiles, and they're numbered on their backs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You place them by joining up these little puzzle piece ends, and once you've done that, you will have completed what's known as the Shepherd's Way. That's the place that the shepherd is going to move through during the course of the game. So the next thing you're going to do is place the shepherd token onto the shepherd's icon on board 1, which is where they'll start, and the phase token onto the phase clock at the top where you have the little star representing the first phase, which is the shepherd's movement phase. After they're placed, you are going to place the Shepherd's Way tiles. Start by taking all 12 of the Shepherd's Way tiles and shuffle them and form a face-down stack. Once you've done that, you are going to place the top 4 into each one of these spots where we have a Shepherd's Way icon. The remainder can just sit in the stack and will be used later in the game. After you place the Shepherd's Way tile, you're going to place the 6 portal gates. Now, which gate tiles you use depends on how many sheep are in the game, and how many sheep are in the game depend on how many players are playing the game. In a solo game like I have set up here, 1 player will control all 3 sheep, so it's a 3-sheep game. If you're playing a 2-player game, each player controls 2 sheep for a 4-sheep game. In a 3-player game, each player controls 2 sheep for a 6-sheep game. In a 4, 5, and 6 player game, each player will control 1 sheep, so they are 4, 5, and 6 sheep games. So find out how many sheep are going to be in your game, and then get the proper gate tokens, and you're going to place one of them in each of these locations where you see both the gate icon and the Shepherd's Way tile. There's one location here at gate 6 where it is just a gate tile, because we'll never actually place a Shepherd's Way tile in this location. So once you've placed all of your gate tiles face up, the next thing to do is build the ghost city of Parochium. Now the way you build the ghost city is you place face up 1 city tile with an artifact on it that is for the individual sheep. I've got a 3-sheep game, so I have 1, 2, 3 book artifact tiles turned face up. I have 1, 2, 3 maps, I have 1, 2, 3 Teleria, I have 1, 2, 3 tech, and I have 1, 2, 3 bone. All the rest are wasteland side up. If this was a 4-sheep game, I would have 4 of each of the different city icons. If I had a 5-sheep game, I'd have 5. If I had a 6-sheep game, I would have 6. And all the rest will be wasteland. Now, you're going to mix them all together and form a big stack, not taking care for where the walls form. You'll see that every one of these city tiles has actually 1 wall on one side, and you want those to just be randomly turned. Then, and I usually start up here by the phase clock, you're going to place in an outer ring of 18 hex tiles, and then a middle ring of 12, and then an inner ring of 6. At this point, you want to make sure that there is an open pathway from every city hex tile to the center. So for instance, if I had a situation like this hex tile is cut off by 3 walls, and there is no open path to the center. When that happens, I'll start with the tile that's got a problem, and I'm just going to rotate it 60 degrees and see if that fixes the problem. And in this case, it does. and so I can get to the center. If rotating the one that's restricted doesn't work, just rotate one of the outside ones until there is an open path from every hex tile to the center. In the center, you want to place the sacrificial altar tile. And there is a angel token on one side, and you want that side down at the start of the game. When you place it, make sure that you align the color of marbles to the marbles in the corners. So red goes with red, blue goes with blue, green goes with green, etc. After you place the sacrificial altar, the ghost city of Parochium is all set. So next, you're going to place the power-up board. Just place this next to the game where everybody can reach it. And then onto it, you are going to place the 5 power-up tokens for each of the different power-up capabilities. And you'll place these on the top in the resource section in the matching area. And then you are all ready to go for the power-ups. The next thing you need to do is pick which sheep you want. And when we do, you want to pick the character board, you want to pick the token, and you want to pick the 2 marbles that match that character. And you can tell what marbles they're supposed to have based on what marble is on their character board. Now in Tabletop Simulator, we can't do all these really cool colors. So Melbrook is going to be represented instead of a purple with these 2 yellow marbles. All the other ones, though, pretty much aligned with what their color is. Once you've got your sheep out, you're going to want to set up the servant board. So the servant board is like the character board except for the servants. And you're going to start by having the cultist and the wolf side face up, and you're going to place the 9 servant marbles on that board. Now, in Tabletop Simulator, those marbles will be white, but in the physical board game, they're going to be black with white spots on them. Additionally, next to the board somewhere, where it's easy to get to them, you're going to want to place all of your cultist tokens and all of your wolf tokens. And then finally, place the angel token between gates 5 and 6, so it's there ready to jump in at the end game if you get that far. The last thing you're going to do as part of the setup is you're going to set up the fate box. So when the fate box comes in the physical game, you're going to have to make it the first time. But once you've actually folded it and put it together, you never have to touch it again. And we'll have a separate video on how to actually do that. You will notice a hole in the back of it. That's where you put the marbles in. And to start the game, you want to have one of the marbles from each of the different characters put into the fate box, even if those characters are not going to be used in the game. You still have to have one of each. In the Tabletop Simulator, it comes with one of each of them, so you don't have to worry about putting anything additional into here. And these things are randomly rolled each time. So the last thing we're going to do then, now the game is pretty much set up, so we need to move our characters into the sacrificial altar in Parochium so they can be ready to go ahead and try to stop the shepherd from coming into their world. In Tabletop Simulator, once you do that, it also removes the other characters that aren't going to be used along with their tokens and their marbles. Of course, you will still have one of each of the marbles in the fate box. And that is how we set up Tangled Yarns for both Tabletop Simulator and the physical board game. In this chapter, I'm going to be talking about the special traits of each of the individual sheep, so you can get a better idea of what they can do and how to play them. Before we start talking about that, though, we're going to talk about the idea of just what a normal sheep is like. Now, since they all have a special trait, you might be wondering, why would you care about what a normal sheep looks like? And it's because of this. This is a Shepherd's Way tile called Fairness of the Shepherd. When this is in play, every sheep, whether it's corrupted or whether it's not, has the same abilities. And that is, they can move 0 to 2 spaces on the board. So 0 to 2 city hexes on the board. They are not allowed to move through walls when they do move. They can do a locking action for a gate, but they have to be on the artifact that they're using in order to do that locking function. They are allowed to attack both cultists and wolves, and they can get a power-up, but it has to be the power-up that matches the artifact that they're on, in this case, the Teleria. Or they can go out into the wilderness and they can get a random one And if that random one, which is chosen by the fate box, comes up with a red color, then they would not get any power up at all. At the end of their turn, they are able to rotate the tile that they are on any number of degrees, as long as they don't close off any other tiles as per the normal rules. So that's what a standard sheep looks like. And that, like I said, that goes into play when we have the Fairness of the Shepherd becomes the active Shepherd's Way tile. Otherwise, they're each going to have their unique characteristics. So let's start by talking about Melbrook. So Melbrook is our tinkerer who's been working in her mechanics workshop. And so she is really good with mechanical things, and she knows everything there is to know about how to rotate and manipulate the city of Parochium. So unlike the other sheep, she can rotate the ones adjacent to her when we get to phase 3 of a turn. So she can take this one and rotate it however many degrees that she wants. This gives her kind of a sense of extra distance because she can come out 2 spaces to here and she can still rotate this one that's 3 spaces away. When she becomes corrupted, however, she can only rotate adjacent tiles, or the one she's on, when they are within line of sight. So in this situation, she'd be able to rotate this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile, but not this tile or this tile because her line of sight is blocked by the walls. The character who's playing Melbrook should really be focused on what kind of passages the cultists have to get to the center sacrificial tile. You can see here that a cultist could go straight in, and here they can go straight in, and here they can go straight in. There are no walls in the way. So the player who is playing Melbrook should be letting everybody else, making everybody else aware of that fact, and watching for where we need to get walls into place to try to slow these cultists down as much as possible. The next character we're going to talk about is Lily. Lily is our kind of bratty and naive, proud princess, and she gets what she wants. And so what she wants is going to be one of these power-ups. It doesn't matter where Lily is on the board. She can choose whichever power-up she wants. The difference when she becomes corrupted is that she can choose, if she's on a particular tile, she can either take that specific power-up for that artifact, or she can choose to do a random one. If she does a random one and for her and it comes up red, then she's allowed to choose whichever power-up she wants. That's her ability to do that here. Again, if she's not corrupted, then she could just take whichever power-up she wants without regard. And this makes her very powerful because she can do that as well in the end game. Even if there are no elements that are out here, you can't store them past the turn of the shepherd, but she could easily get that extra Teleria to get someone an extra distance, or the ability to go through a wall, or maybe an extra defense or extra attack. So that's a pretty powerful tool for Lily. And that's what Lily should be thinking about. The player who's running Lily is, where do we or might we need extra power-ups? Which ones are we short? Which ones can we get? And how can I help other teammates get those? When it comes to Poppy, Poppy is our nurse, and she's very caring of all the other sheep. And she's going to do everything she can to get out there. So she actually has the ability to move 4 hexes, city hexes, instead of just the normal 2. And that's what her special trait ability is. Problem is, she is not allowed to rotate tiles just as a matter of course. If she is out here and she manages to have, or the team has a power-up, a tech power-up that allows her to rotate a tile, then she can rotate the one that she's on, or one of the adjacent ones, per the normal circumstances of that power-up. When she becomes corrupted, she can still go the additional 2 spaces. However, she is no longer allowed to attack any other creatures either. So she can't attack cultists and wolves at this point. If one of the other characters, we'll say Lily here, is attacking this wolf, Lily's marbles will go into that attack against the wolf. Poppy's will not, but her presence counts as another attacker, and so it will reduce the wolf's number of marbles by 1. There's a whole video I did on combat if that's getting confusing, but the point is the fact that Poppy is present does reduce the defender's defense marbles by 1, the same as it would even if she could attack. She just doesn't add in her marbles. The character who's playing the role of Poppy should really pay attention to these distant locations in the Ghost City of Parochium. You're going to find it's hard to get out sometimes, these further locations. And so the player who's playing Poppy should really be focused on, do we have enough legs to get out there in the turns that we have left to us? Where does she need to be getting to, and where does she need to alert the rest of the team so that they can get to these distant artifacts and collect them and close the gates before the shepherd gets there? If she can do that, that will really be helping out her team. Next, we have Twyla. And Twyla, a little bit klutzy, very friendly, but she knows all kinds of stuff about the Ghost City of Parochium. She knows every little passage and can find secret tunnels and everything else. So for her, walls mean nothing. Her special ability is just to ignore walls. She can go through walls that are combined into sets of 2 or 1, and she just walks around ignoring them until she becomes corrupted. If she becomes corrupted, then she can only pass through a single wall, but she can't go through a double wall. And that is one wall in that turn. So if she's on this hex, she can go through this one, but she can't go through a second one. That would be 2 walls. The only way she can do that is if she has a power-up like anybody else, and that would allow her to do an additional wall. So if she had a power-up and she was corrupted, only then could she get through this double wall thing, and that would use up that map power-up to make that available. The player who is playing the character of Twyla should really be paying attention to the Shepherd Ways tiles. These things can bite you. As the Shepherd is moving along, it's good for this player to look ahead and see what tiles are coming next so that you're aware, ooh, we're about ready to lose all of our personality traits, or we're not going to be able to rotate tiles this next turn, or the cultists are going to be stronger next turn, so we really want to attack them this time if we're going to do it. Those are the kind of things that the player who is running Twyla can do to help out the team. For the character of Mop, she's our little quick to get depressed, extremely bookish and knowledgeable. Nobody knows more about the gates and the arcane sciences than Moppet. So for Moppet, she doesn't have to be actually on the individual artifact city tiles to use them in a locking action for closing one of the gates. She could be sitting here, and then she could use the map to close a gate, or she could use a book to close the gate, or she could use the bone to close the gate. So that gives her, sort of like Melbrook, the almost like extra distance. She can go 1, 2, get out to here, and then she can use this map to close a gate, which is a very powerful thing that she can do for you. Now, if she is corrupted, also kind of like Melbrook, she can no longer do her little talent of using adjacent hexes unless they are within line of sight. So here she could use the book in a locking action, she could use the bone in a gate locking action, or she could use this book in a gate locking action, but she couldn't use this map because it's now blocked to her by line of sight. So the player who's playing Mop, they should be looking at what order the gates are getting locked at and which gates they should get locked next. Do you want to take care of the ones that have the maximum number of icons on them because you need every sheep to do it? And then if sheep die after that point, you can still potentially win the game by locking all the ones that still have to remain? Or do you want to get the next gate that's closest to the shepherd? Or is there a better one that just happens to be in a better position for where everyone's located? Those are the things that the player who is controlling Mop is going to be looking at and can offer to the team to help them out. The final one is Blackberry, and Blackberry is kind of our street urchin and very strong, clever, and capable, and pretty much a fighter. So Blackberry has the power of +1 for attack and +1 for defense, which makes her more sturdy out there and a good one to go into different scrapes. She does still count as only one character. So if she is up against a wolf or something like that, she would have 3 marbles to its 1, but it's not like she's counting as a second character. Now, if Mop were to join her, then there are 2 who are attacking 1. If you have an additional attacker, it drops the defender's marbles by 1, and then that would get rid of the wolf. But on her own, she's just a more powerful and capable sheep. When she gets corrupted, though, it really gets tricky because now she's even more powerful. Now she's +2, but she can never at any time share a hex with another one of the sheep characters. So if Mop were there, she would not be allowed to pass through the hex that Mop is on. So the team has to be aware and make sure that she's got an open path. And when she does go in and attack, she does have an attack of 4 now, but she only has a defense of 1, and she can never share a spot, so she can never join in an attack with any of the other sheep. The only place where she can share it is on the sacrificial altar, and that's before the end game, when the sacrificial altar is basically turned into a regular tile. So up until that point, she could share a spot with another sheep, but that's the only location where she could do it. For the player who's playing the character of Blackberry, what they can do is really keep an eye on how many wolves and how many cultists have gotten out onto the field, because they can easily become overwhelming. She can also look ahead and see how many are about to show up, and also keep an eye out for what abilities the angel's going to have. If you're about ready to close the end game, maybe you want to kill off some more of the cultists or some more of the wolves prior to doing that, because when the last gate is closed, it sets the strength of the angel to however many wolves were left, and its movement will be however many cultists are on the field at the time. So it might be a time to kill some additional wolves before you actually close that last gate. And those are the thoughts and decisions that the player who is controlling Blackberry can offer up to the team. In this chapter, I'm going to talk through some examples of how combat happens in the game. Combat's going to happen either because the sheep are going to attack cultists and wolves, or because the wolves are going to attack sheep, or because the angel is going to attack sheep. The basics of combat are pretty simple, and we're going to illustrate some of that with our little characters here. We're going to say that Lily is going to come out and she's going to want to attack this cultist. So the way any basic combat works is you are going to first figure out how many marbles the attacker has. In this case, Lily has 2 attack marbles. And when we do this in Tabletop Simulator to select the marbles, all you have to do is click on them, and they form into the combat stack above the fate box. And then the cultist has a defense of 2 marbles, so we click on 2, and they also go into the stack. Then we simply roll and see which one comes out to the furthest left. If the attacker wins, the defender is removed from the game if it's a cultist or a wolf, normally. If the cultist were to have won this, then nothing bad would happen to the attacker. So the attackers aren't hurt in their attack on the other individuals. Now that's just the basics. If I click this one more time, all the marbles return to where they came from in Tabletop Simulator, which is pretty cool. However, we can change this combat based, or it might change based on what the active tile is of the Shepherd's Way tile. So let's say we had a situation where this happened to be the active Shepherd's Way tile. Now, this particular Shepherd's Way tile gives the cultist a +1 defense. So now if Lily were to attack, she would have, again, her attack of 2, but now the cultist would have its 2, and then +1 for the Shepherd's Way tile. So now it's 3-2, and she has a much better chance. But something else that can be used by the sheep characters are power-ups. There's one power-up, a bone power-up, that is used when sheep attack wolves and cultists, and there's another power-up, the book power-up, that can be used when wolves or the angel attack the sheep. So in this case, Lily is attacking the cultist. So we take that power-up. Let's say she wants to use this power-up. This power-up reduces the defense of either the cultist or the wolf by 1. So it would remove that extra marble. And now we have a 2-4 situation. I just clicked a little bit above the marbles to remove them from this combat stack when we do it in Tabletop Simulator. So those will go into the fate box. Make sure you've taken out the basics, the main 6 marbles when you do this. And you just put in the marbles you need, and it came out that the cultist won. So Lily's attack has failed. The power-up will go back onto the stack, but the Shepherd's Way tile remains in effect while the shepherd is in that area. Once the shepherd moves on to the next one, it's no longer going to be in effect. Okay, let's talk about a different situation. Let's say instead Lily was attacking a wolf. Okay, so Lily is going to attack a wolf. When sheep attack wolves, it's a lot better than when wolves attack sheep. Sheep will have an attack of 2 normally, and the wolves only have a defense of 1. So we're already in a pretty good position going up against this wolf. If Lily were to use this tile now, the bonus bone tile, it reduces the number of marbles the wolf has by 1. Now that the wolf has no marbles, it's an instant defeat of the wolf. We don't even need to go through the rolling of the marbles or anything else because the wolf has already been defeated. Another way to do that is if we have a second player coming out to also attack that wolf. The way it works when you have more than one sheep attacking the same individual or the same cultist or wolf, you have an attack, the 2 marbles from Melbrook, you would have the 2 marbles from Lily, and you would have the 1 defense of the wolf. But the defender's number of marbles is reduced by 1 for every additional attacker over 1 that is involved in that battle. In this case, we have 1 additional attacker, so that means the wolf's defense marbles gets reduced by 1. And that, like the last time, leaves the wolf with no marbles, and therefore it was an instant defeat of the wolf, and it would be removed from play. Now that might be offset if we have something like this. If this particular Shepherd's Way tile was involved, that gives a +1 defense to the wolves. So if that were to be the case, I'm just going to reset this real quick. Then Melbrook would have an attack of 2, and Lily would have an attack of 2, and the wolf would have a defense of 1, +1 for the Shepherd's Way tile, but then -1 because there are 2 attackers, 1 more than is required to do the basic attack. And so then we would have that stack of marbles, it would go into our fate box, and this time it doesn't matter if which sheep wins the competition, as long as one of the sheep does, that wolf would be removed from the game. So another thing that we can do is when we're in a situation where there's more than one servant on the same tile, and the sheep comes into it, the sheep wants to attack. They can decide who they want to attack. Does Lily want to just attack the wolf? Does she want to just attack the cultist? Does she want to attack both of them together? Let's say she wants to attack both of them together. Again, her attack marbles are 2. The defense of the wolf is 1, and the defense of the cultist is 2. So that's what the current is. Now, we're going to assume the Shepherd's Way tile is not involved. Let's set those aside for right now. This would be the stack of odds. Now, of course, Lily could use one of these power-ups and reduce this by 1. But this is if she's trying to attack, we'll say she used a power-up. This is when she is attacking more than one character. If Lily were to win this competition, let's see if she does. She does not. If she were to win, both of these characters would be removed instead of just 1. If she was just attacking the wolf, so let's say the wolf had 1 and she had 2, and she did this attack, there's obviously nothing that's going to impact the cultist. It would still be there, but in this case, the wolf would be removed. Having more defenders does not change how many attack marbles the attackers have. It's only if there are more attackers, you start reducing the number of marbles of the defenders. Okay. So if we have more than one, again, it's up to more than one sheep involved in the attack. It is entirely up to the players how they want to do the attacks and in what order. It could be that Melbrook tries to attack the cultist. If Melbrook fails, then Lily will try to attack the cultist. Or it could be that we have Melbrook and Lily together going after both the wolf and the cultist. So if we had a situation like that, we have Lily with her attack marbles, Melbrook with her attack marbles, and then we've got the defense of the wolf and the defense of the cultist. But because I've got 2 attackers, that's 1 more than the basic 1 attacker. If they lose 1 marble, and boom. So now we have 2 against all the 4 marbles of the sheep. If the sheep or the cultist or the wolf win, they stay there. If any of the sheep win, then both of these individuals will be removed, in which case that would be what just happened. So if there was just the cultist, we would do the same kind of thing. You would have 2 for Melbrook, 2 for Lily, 2 for the cultist. But again, since there's 2 attackers, that's 1 more than needed. The servants would lose 1 marble, and so now it's a much better odds. If we had an additional sheep come out, now there's Blackberry would add her 3 marbles because she has a special trait that allows her to do +1 on the attack. But since now there's 2 attackers, which is 2 more than the basic one, the defender loses 2 marbles. And so that would be gone. And so now it's an instant defeat of the cultists. So there are ways you could win without ever having to mess around with the fate box and leaving it to chance. So in general, think about if you have 2 sheep or a sheep and a bone attacking a wolf, that's an automatic win. If you have 3 sheep against a cultist, or 2 sheep and 1 bone, or 1 sheep and 2 bones against a cultist, that's an automatic win as well. When the wolves are attacking, the wolves will attack whatever sheep are on that hex. So this one wolf, when it comes in, it's going to attack both Melbrook and Lily. Now, wolves attack with a strength of 3. Lily defends with a strength of 1, and Melbrook defends with a strength of 1. There's only 1 attacker. It doesn't matter that there's 2 defenders. That doesn't change anything. It could be, however, that our defenders use one of their books. A book will reduce the attacker's marbles by 2. So that means the wolf is going to lose 2 of these marbles, and now it's a much better fight for our team here. So we put them in, roll them out, and boom. It is still white. The wolf is 1. Now, this brings up the question of which of these 2 is going to be removed. The way we've got the game set up and developed is because sometimes maybe these marbles might not be there. What we do is we just re-roll with the full 6, and whichever marble we come to first, in this case it's either going to be red or yellow, and we get to red first, it's the furthest on the left. That means Lily has been corrupted or killed if she's already corrupted. She moves back to the center and her board is flipped. Nothing happens to Melbrook. So that's the difference between the 2. When the sheep win, all of the servants they were attacking are removed from the game. There are a couple exceptions to that. When the servants attack, only 1 of the sheep gets removed. And so let's say we have 2 sheep and there are 2 wolves that are going to be attacking. It's the same kind of thing. It's all going to count as 1 attack. So now we've got 2 wolves, each one with an attack of 3. And then we've got Melbrook defending herself, Lily defending herself. But since there's 1 more attacker than there is required that you need, which is just the 1, so we have 1 additional attacker, that means the defenders lose 1 marble. Which marble do they lose? Doesn't really matter. So you just get rid of 1 of them, because that's why we that's why I use the fate box later to see which, because if the wolves win, which they probably will, then 1 of these 2 sheep gets removed, and we'll check in with a regular fate box to see who that is. Is it yellow or red first? Do we get to red first as we move from the left? So this time Lily would be removed from the game. Now they could have used one of their power-ups if they had a defense power-up. And in that situation, let's say we have Melbrook's defending with 1, Lily's defending with 1, and you still have the 6 marbles from the wolves. There's 1 reduced because there are 2 attackers. So let's get rid of that one. But now let's say our team uses their power-up. So that's going to remove 2 from the wolves. So 2 of the wolves' marbles are removed, and now we're down to 4-1. You can't use bone power-ups in this situation, okay? It could also be worse if, for some reason, maybe our wolves have an additional attack because of where it is. In this situation, both wolves get a +1. This is for every wolf or every cultist, not them as a group. So that's +1 for one wolf, +1 for the other wolf. So we are back into a very bad situation for our poor little sheep. And it comes up, so one of our sheep has been killed. Which one has it or been corrupted? And it's going to be Lily again. So Lily would go to the center and she would go into her corrupted state. And Melbrook would stay there and the wolves would stay there and the wolves would be done for their turn. So there's a couple other Shepherd's Way tiles that you should be aware of because they do have an effect. These 4 over here are pretty straightforward and they're basically just adding a marble to an attack, adding a marble to a defense, or removing one of the sheep's attack marbles. But over here, this is a second attack, so a re-attack. If the wolves fail in their first attack, they can run that same attack again, and it'll be exactly the same attack. However, if there's any of the power-ups that were used on the first one are already gone. You can't reuse them. It's not like a complete replay of it. It's just they attack a second time. All right, so it's calculated again as if it were a fresh attack, but it's the wolves are going to attack with the same level. Another one to be aware of is this particular tile. In this case, if you do defeat the cultists during this turn, instead of going out of the game, they are going to respawn in a randomly decided corner. In this case, it'd be the black corner, and if you had defeated this cultist, it would now be respawning. So that's something to be aware of. The other one to be aware of is this one, which robs your personality traits from your sheep. In that situation, Blackberry would only have an attack of 2, no longer an attack of 3, no longer a defense of 2. So these characteristics are gone. However, if one of these sheep are corrupted, like Blackberry, in which case she would have attack of 4, that's also removed. There's also a circumstance where she can't be in the same square as somebody else. There's also a situation where if Poppy, who's not out here right now, if she is corrupted, she is not allowed to attack. But if this trait thing is active, she would be able to be treated like any other sheep, and she would have an attack of 2, and there's no corruptions when this particular tile is in play. Okay, so that's the basics of all the different combat. It is actually fairly simple. Just remember how many marbles does the attacker have, how many marbles does the defender have, and then adjust them based on the Shepherd's Way tile, how many power-ups are used, if there's any special traits that the characters have, and then how many attackers are there going after the defenders. And the players can divide this up however they want in terms of when they attack the wolves or the cultists, but the wolves and the angel will always attack all of the sheep that are on the hex, and you determine which sheep actually lost when the sheep do lose by using the fate box. In this chapter, I'm going to give you the rules. It's basically the rules for the first 5 phases of a turn around to kind of break it down for you. You will notice if you've seen the other videos on picking characters and combat, some of the bits on the Tabletop Simulator board might change, and that's because we're continuously working to make little improvements to it. So you'll see some changes from here and there. So we've already talked through the setup. All you have to do on Tabletop Simulator is click that, and there's a big warning that comes up now. Make sure everyone has that 30 degrees set. Again, that's just Tabletop Simulator. If you're playing the live game, you have to worry about that stuff. But this is where we're going to begin, and as always, I'm going to have my 3 characters located in the center, and when we do this on Tabletop Simulator, it is going to give us a quick little flash, get rid of all the extra unneeded components, and then we're ready. So this is set up and we're ready to go. So the first phase, we're just going to talk through these first 3 phases, which are the shepherd moves. The character's going to take a movement and a single action, and then the characters rotate the tiles. So for the first one, and the shepherd moves, the shepherd is going to travel to the next open shepherd space, and then there's basically 4 things happen on the shepherd's move. The first is that they move to the space. The second is that a cultist or a wolf will spawn based on this grid. It tells you how many of each, depending on how many sheep you have. 3 sheep will be 1 cultist, 4 sheep. Let me zoom in for you and rotate it properly. So in a 3 sheep game, we'll have 1 cultist show up. In a 4 sheep game, we'll have one cultist, etc. And as we get into higher levels, we're going to start to see that we have wolves. In this case, a 3 sheep game, 1 cultist and no wolves show up, but in a 4 sheep, no cultist and 1 wolf shows up. So spawning our servants of the shepherd is one thing that happens. Another thing that happens, if we were to move to this location on our shepherd's move from here to here, this shepherd's way tile is now active, and it stays active until the shepherd moves to the next spot. And there's an automatic spawning function in the tabletop simulator version, which is why we keep having wolves and cultists and things show up. So if the shepherd is here, this tile is active. Shepherd is here, this tile is active. But once you move off of it, it's not involved anymore. It's not permanent, a permanent feature. There are a couple of these, such as these 2 over here, which fortunately have both come up. These happen instantaneously. In this case, when this one becomes active, then the cultist that is furthest away, and if there's a tie, it would be both of them, are going to move one that's furthest away on the shortest path to the center. We'll move 1 step closer to the center. And on this one, you will rotate all of the tiles that have a wall adjacent to the sacrificial altar, 60 degrees. You don't need to know all that stuff. Bottom line is the Shepherd's Way tile becomes active. So we've spawned, the Shepherd's Way tile becomes active. The next thing you need to be aware of, but it's more later in the game, you cannot have more power-up tokens here than actually exist. Those icons for those artifacts exist on the board. So when we start here, I have 1, 2, 3 maps. So I can only have, when the shepherd moves to the next spot, if I have more than 3 maps sitting in this space, if I had 4 of them here, one of those would have to be lost. So that's all that means. It really doesn't come into play until the end of the game, because what you'll see in a moment is as we move, we are going to be flipping these tiles over as we lock gates. And so they're going to be disappearing. And that's why it becomes a factor. And by the time we've closed all the gates, all of these icons will be gone. That doesn't mean you can't get a power-up, but it does mean you cannot carry any power-ups into the next movement of the shepherd. Not the shepherd's going to be moving, but the angel will take its place and there'll be a shepherd movement phase. So during the shepherd movement phase, you can't have more of these power-ups than there are icons on the field. Okay, that's actually it for the shepherd's move. There's really not that much. Gonna move, gonna spawn. This is now active, and check your power-ups. That's it. I know it was a lot of explanation for that just a short bit, but to make sure you got it. Then we are going to move on to the characters get to the sheep. That's you. Get to take an action and move. So if you look on any character board of any of the sheeps, you see right here what we just saw. This is the first part of the sheep. So then phase 2, that's this number 1 of the sheep's 2 phases. And in this one, the sheep can move 0 to 2. And that little icon there means there's something special. And for Twilight, she can jump through walls. But the sheep can move 0 to 2. And then they can also take one of these 4 actions. So we'll go into depth about what each of these actions is. This one is for combat. The next one's the locking action. One of the main goals of this game is to get these 6 gates locked. These gates are locked. You will notice at the bottom of them. Now we'll get spun around. So we'll look at this first gate here. On the bottom of this gate, there are 3 icons. One is a gear for a tech icon, a book, and then a map icon. And those correspond, you'll see those same icons out here in Parochium at these different little city tiles. And the way we're going to lock this is each sheep has to be on a separate icon that represents, each of those. So if in later ones, like when you have a 6 sheep game, you could have like 2 books that have to be used. You can't have 2 characters on the same book and use that one twice. Each icon can only be used once for only one of these gates. So once we get there, and once we're in place, we all agree that we're going to do this, we can go ahead and flip each of those, making sure that the wall side doesn't move. In Tabletop Simulator, it'll stay on that same side, but as you're playing the physical game, you're going to want to make sure you flip it so that the wall stays in the same location. You'll notice now we have 3 wasteland squares, and then this city gate, or this portal gate will get removed. So the gate tile is moved off. You can get that out of the game, and it is replaced by a new Shepherd's Way tile. So we've got that stack of Shepherd's Way. Just grab the top one and you flip it over and you place it here. That is how you do a city locking action. So going back to our Twilight, that's how a locking action works. There are some gates where you don't need to use everybody. This one only requires 2 people or 2 sheep to be on gate. So you can just have 2 of our sheep. We could have one here and we could have one there. And then the other one can go off and do something else. So it can go get a power up. It can go, do whatever. So then these 2 can convert this one. And again, they would say, okay, we're doing a locking action together. Yeah, let's go, go, go. And then they would get rid of that. You can lock the gates in whatever order you want. And that's generally something that Mop is looking at. That's kind of the thing the player controlling Mop would normally do, is kind of look and see, well, which one do we want to get to? Which one's coming up first? This is going to require all of us. If you knock out the ones that require all of your sheep earlier, that means that if one of your sheep gets killed, then you don't automatically lose the game. You can keep going because you only have ones that have 2s left on them. One other thing, it doesn't matter if there is a wolf or if there is a cultist on one of those tiles. You can still use it for a gate locking action. They do not prevent you from using it for a gate locking action. So just something to note. Okay, we're going to drop to the bottom here now, and we're going to look at the power-up. That's the indication for a power-up, like they're finding an artifact and opening up the little box that the artifact is in. And so for the power-ups, it costs an action for you to go and get it. And it's generally going to be the one that you're standing on. So right now, Twyla here can get this bone power up. She'll take the bone power up and she will drop it into this section right here. This means that her team now has a bone power up. And anybody, as soon as she obtains it, anybody can use it. They can use it on that turn. Like now, if Blackberry wanted to come in and attack this wolf and use that bone power up, it gets exhausted, but that's an automatic kill against the wolf. So it could be used in the same turn right away. But it does count as the action for that character to obtain it. If you are in a wasteland space, you'll notice there is no artifact to collect. So you have to take your chance digging around to see if you find anything in Parochium, and for that you use the Fate box. So the Fate box, we're going to check all of our marbles, and whichever one comes up, so in this case we would have blue. Blue is going to be the Teleria icon, and that is for being able to move faster, so you can travel an extra space. The green one is going to be for the maps. The red one, if you get a red one, there's no red corresponding power-up, so you don't get a power-up. So that is the risk you take if you try to do it on the wasteland. The purple is the tech, so that is going to allow you to rotate an additional hexagon when we get to that next phase. And the black is the skull, and that's going to reduce the defending marbles of either the cultists or the wolves as you're going in to attack them as a group, not each one, but as a group. And then the last one, the brown, that is the book, and that allows you to reduce the number of attack marbles that the wolves have by 2. That also does work on the angel at the end game. You can reduce the angel's attack by 2. Okay, so that is how you get the power-ups. And again, you can keep them. Everybody can be getting power-ups, and then you can share them and pass them around. But those do count as the action. And that leaves us just one other possible action that we can take here for the sheep. And that is a sacrifice. So what a sacrifice does, you'll probably do it later in the game. So we'll have like the shepherd up here and is getting close. Oh no, the shepherd's only one away from getting to this open gate. So if the shepherd were to move and to jump there, and that would result in us losing the game. So we don't want that to happen. So we're going to say Blackberry decides she is going to sacrifice herself. So the way you sacrifice yourself is first, you're going to move to the center, to the sacrificial altar. You are going to become corrupted, so your player board gets flipped over to the corrupted side, and now you have different characteristics. You can sacrifice yourself if you're already corrupted. If that happens, you just take yourself out of the game, and your character is dead. But if your character was in good health, then you move to the center, you are now corrupted, and then the shepherd is laid down at that spot. This shepherd's way that it was empowering, it was using, is no longer in use. So that one is no longer valid. One note for that is if you look at these two, these happen, the movement of the cultists from the furthest cultist away, their movement toward, and also the changing, the rotating of all of these tiles 60 degrees clockwise that are adjacent to the center. Those happen as soon as the shepherd shows up, so you don't take them back. That doesn't take anything back if you were to sacrifice while the shepherd was sitting either here or here. But in this case, the wolves have a greater defense. They would have an extra marble in defense. That no longer applies. They no longer have an extra marble in defense, and because you have sacrificed yourself. Now, on the shepherd's next turn, when it comes to shepherd move, the shepherd is simply going to reoccupy this space, and that means this shepherd's tile is now active. So the wolves are once again have one additional marble in defense. If you were to have sacrificed while the shepherd was here, was moved off when it comes back in, you do not do these actions the second time. Those are really the only two that are instant actions that happen when the shepherd shows up. And that is how a sacrifice happens. There's more than one reason why you might want to do it, and they are not all necessarily obvious. If your character is like way across the board like this, and there's no way you're going to be able to get to where you need to get to in time, by doing a sacrifice, if I'm starting here, and I haven't taken a move, when I sacrifice, this comes off, I go to the center, I am now corrupted, but I haven't taken my move yet, so I can continue on and be in a good position then for that next turn. So I've just basically jumped across the board, which is kind of a neat way to do it. Another thing is, something is not going to work, like we're not able to use our powers or we're not able to rotate while the shepherd is sitting there. If someone sacrifices, then that's no longer valid. You can do that rotation, which might be that last thing you need to help save yourselves. So there are some other reasons to sacrifice yourself apart from just stopping the shepherd, but those are kind of the main things. A couple things about movement. You cannot move through the spot that a wolf is on. So Twyla would not be able to move. She can move to the wolf. If she starts her turn on the same hex as the wolf, she can move off of that hex, but she can't move through the hex to another spot. She obviously could come this way, but she couldn't go through the wolf hex. She would have to go in and stop. So she wouldn't go in there in the first place. So that's something else to know about movements. There's no problem moving through the center. You can do that all day, no big deal. You cannot use power-ups or your extra abilities that the different sheep have from the sacrificial altar, while it is the sacrificial altar. Okay, so that is it for the movement and the action. And remember, you can mix this up however you want between all of your players. So we could have something like, we could have Mop move her 2 spaces. Then we have Twyla takes a power-up. Twyla passes that power-up over to Blackberry. Blackberry then moves. Blackberry attacks the wolf. And the wolf is defeated. And then Twyla finishes up and moves to some other place over here. So you can mix all of these movements and actions however you want as players. The one thing you can't do is you can't split a movement. If a character starts moving, it can't go one, then someone else does something, or it does something, and then it does the second part of its move. You have to move all in one go. And that's all the rules for the second phase. So moving on to the third phase. The third phase is pretty straightforward. So we are going to be able to rotate the tile that we are on. One of the things that is very useful is the ability to change the orientation of tiles to cause a longer pathway for these cultists to have to travel. And you can keep doing it to try to stop them. So once we get to this point, wherever you happen to be at is the tile that you can turn. Okay, you can't turn other ones. Now that changes if you happen to have one of the tech power-ups. If you use a tech power-up, you can now rotate, in addition to the one you're on, any of the ones adjacent to it. Now, one character that we have who's not here is Poppy, and Poppy is not allowed to rotate the hex that she's on. But if she has this power-up, then she can either rotate the one she's on or one of the ones adjacent to her. So kind of like everybody else. So she can also use the power-ups to do that. The other difference is Melbrook, who is also not here, but if Melbrook's here, she can, instead of rotating the tile that she is on, she can rotate an adjacent one. And again, the goal of these is to make a longer pathway for the cultists and the wolves to travel along. You can never rotate them, though, so you close off a hex completely, so there's no pathway without walls for you to get to, for someone to get to the center. So this would not be allowed. You would not be able to do that. Cultists. If a cultist is on it, you can't rotate it. If a wolf is on it, you can. So that's the difference. Remember, you can't go through a space with a wolf, but you can go through a space with a cultist. You can't rotate the hex that the cultist is on, but you can rotate the hex that the wolf is on. So a little bit difference between those two, because what you'll find is once it gets to here, you're not going to be able to rotate that tile that way to stop it. It is unrotatable, and so you are stuck. That's even with the power-up, you cannot rotate the tile that the cultist is on. Okay, that is the first three phases of the game, and next I'm going to show you the next three phases of the game, which is all the actions of the servants. This is part 2 of the rules for the actual play of the game, and we're going to pick up where we left off. So we've already covered the first 3 phases, which is the movement of the shepherd, the player's actions and movements, and the rotating of the tiles. And once all of the players who want to, and they don't have to, but who want to rotate the hexes that they're on are done, then we move to the movement of the cultists. Cultists want to move in the fastest possible path from where they are to the center sacrificial tile. Now that's going to maybe require them to make decisions and choose. So right here we've got ourselves a cultist. It's looking to get to that. No big decision. 1, 2, 3. That's its fastest path. It's going to move 1 towards it. Now this cultist has a bit more of a challenge. It can go 1, 2, 3. It can go, nope, that's pretty much it. So it's going to go, boom. It would go right to there. And that's 1, 2 cultists. Do we have any other ones? I don't. So let's do one where we've got a choice. We're going to say this cultist is starting up over here. What is the fastest path for that cultist to get in? Well, it's got some options now. So one of those paths involves it going this direction, and one involves it going this direction because they're both the same distance. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can either go to the left or it can go to the right. So how do we decide which is which? What we're going to do is we're going to sort of superimpose this image. Now, when you're doing it, when you're playing the hard board game, you can do this both either, with either one. But when you're looking at the game itself, we're going to sort of superimpose that image with all of the different marbles of the sacrificial altar on the spot where the cultist is at. And this direction is in the purple, and this direction is in the blue. So if we imagine then that there is a purple direction and there is a blue direction, it'd be going the same way as if the cultist was here, purple direction, blue direction. Those are the two options that are available to it, and we will leave it to the fate box to decide which one we are going to do. So for the fate box, you can, in the physical form, just have two marbles in there now, the purple and the blue, but generally I like to just leave one of each in here because it's simple enough, then you don't have to switch them out. You just shake it, and whichever one shows up first, starting from the left, is the one you do. So this time we had purple. If the purple marble had been down here where the red is, and we would have just kind of come along and then, oh, we came to blue first. But in this case, we came to purple first, so it's going to move in the purple direction. Oh, don't remember what the purple direction is. Oh, it's right here. Boom, purple direction. So that cultist is going to move there. So every time there's a decision and there's multiple ways that the cultist could move, you're going to decide using the fate box. And it could be that, it might have 4 different directions it can go. That's fine. Whichever one shows up first on the left of the fate box is the one that it's going to take. Easy enough for that. So that's how the cultists move. And if a cultist ever moves into the center, and we've got a victory thing set up here, I'll do that at the end of this video so you can kind of see what that looks like. It's kind of fun. Or maybe I'll do one of the other ones. There's a lot of victory animations that happen on this. But if a cultist on their turn moves into the center, then you lose the game. So you don't want that to happen. You got to stop those guys from getting in there. After the cultists have all moved, we move the wolves. Wolves ignore cultists completely. They're not part of their landscape or thought process at all. Wolves are going to move in the fastest possible path to the closest sheep. So I've got Mop over here, and I've got Blackberry up here, and I've got Twyla right here. Okay, so Twyla is the closest, and 1, 2, wolves can move 2. And you know that if you come and you look at the shepherd's board, you can see that the cultists move 1, and the wolves are going to move 2 spaces, up to 2 spaces each turn. It's really 0 to 2. They don't have to move 2. Okay, so it moves to the same space, and now it has the ability to attack Twyla. And again, that's combat, and that was covered in that other video. If Twyla was sitting here on the sacrificial altar, as a sacrificial altar, the wolf would not see Twyla, and it would go, okay, well, let's see, how far is it to get to Mop? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there a faster way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, okay. Can it get to Blackbird? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope. So the closest one's going to be Mop, and it goes on its fastest path toward Mop. It cannot go through the center. So if you were to have a situation where you've built a wall all the way along here, that's valid. There's still a way for every hex to get to the center. But if the sheep are on this side and the wolves were on the opposite side, let's do that real quick because it looks so cool. Let's see, we do that one. Let's rotate you that way. Let's rotate you this way. Let's rotate you this way, and let's rotate you this way. So, look at us. We built this massive, amazing wall, and all of the sheep are on the other side. The wolf can't move to get any sheep, so it doesn't move at all. So that's one of the rules. If it can't see the sheep, or maybe it could get to them, but if they're all sitting on the center for whatever weird reason, it wouldn't see them, and so it wouldn't move. So it has to be able to see something in order for it to move. Okay? All right, so that's all about the wolf movement. It can move through the ones with the cultists. It ignores them completely. So that's not a problem. And then that moves into the wolf attack. Couple other things about movements. If you have a wolf, for whatever reason, and 2 wolves and they ended up moving to the same space, they now move as a pack. That is not true with cultists. Cultists never form packs. So if you have 2 cultists sitting in a spot like this, or actually, if we had 2 cultists over here, like we had them before, and we'd have to use the fate box for each one to see, do they go this way or do they go this way? We don't have to do that with the wolves. If there's a choice of 2 different targets they could go after, are they going to go after this one, or are they going to go after this one if they were equal distance? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah. They're going to move as a pack. So they're both going to move here because that's now the first step is the same. And then we're going to use the fate box to determine, do they go this way or do they go that way? And so that is a choice of either the purple direction or the black direction, as you can see from looking at the sacrificial altar to use as a guide. And when we do it once, then they are both coming to attack. Okay, so they stay as a pack. Now, even though that they are a pack, again, none of the rules have changed for the characters. They can both just attack one of them. They can one attack one attack the other. Again, that's all in the combat video. But the wolves will continue to move as one. And if the wolves attack, if there's nothing, if they're not on a space with a sheep, you just skip it. And also, of course, if there are no wolves, you would skip that. If there are no cultists, you would skip this cultist move. But if they do show up, all of the wolves will attack all of the sheep, not the cultists, on that tile with their full strength. And that's it. Once you get through this, you move back up to the shepherd moving, and the shepherd is off to the next one. And we do our 4 shepherd actions, which is the shepherd moves, we spawn new characters, this is now valid, and we make sure we don't have any of the extra power-ups based on how many icons are out here in the playfield. So that's how a basic turn works. And again, if you are killed by a wolf, I talk about that in the combat one, but it's the same thing. You're going to end up getting sent to the middle. Your character is going to be corrupted, but nothing happens to the shepherd. It's not like you sacrificed yourself or anything. And then if you are killed a second time, or if you're beaten by the wolves a second time, then you're out. And if that leaves you with too few sheep to close the rest of the gates, you have lost. So if the shepherd gets to an open gate, you lose. One more step of the shepherd to this open gate would be a loss. If a cultist can get to the center, one more movement of this cultist would cause you a loss. Or if one of your characters is killed because you don't have enough people now to close one of the remaining gates, that's another way for you to die. So in this case, we're going to say shepherd has reached an open gate and has moved into parochium. Oh, woe is us. So that stinks. What if I move you into the center? Oh, it's the same thing. It's just bad all the way around. Okay, it's a horrible day. In this chapter, we're going to talk about the endgame. The endgame is triggered when the final gate is closed. A couple things to get you caught up on what's going on. We can see that we've got our servant board is still looking normal. You're used to that. Out here in the playfield, we have 2 wolves located here, another one there. I've got Blackberry on a spot with the cultist. We have Lily, who has a map that she's on, and Melbrook, who is on the tech. Another cultist, another wolf, and another cultist, because the shepherd has just moved to this latest position, and it is now time for our sheep to take their turn. Now, we're going to pretend that our little sheep are super excited, so happy to be here because they've been worried about this shepherd and they're starting to get overmatched, and so they decide, yes, let's just go ahead. First action they're going to do is go ahead and close this gate. When you enter the end game in the physical copy, you are going to have a number of steps to take. So we close that last gate. These are going to happen automatically for us. The first is that the center tile has been rotated over to the other side. And so on this side, you can see the angel icon that's located on it. Once it does this is going to act like a normal wasteland tile. It's no longer safe for the sheep to be on there, but they can use their powers to rotate, or not that there's anything still left to lock, but they can do their powers from the center at that point. So the angel goes to there. Also, you may or may not have noticed, you'll see there are no wolves that are left. All of the wolves have been taken from the game and they've been turned into the power of the angel. So that's its attack strength. You'll see our board has changed. And so the angel right here, the angel, it has the ability, first of all, it moves as many spaces as there are cultists that are still on the board. So we currently have 1, 2, 3 cultists on the board. So the angel will be able to move up to 3 spaces. It ignores walls. So right now it can get from that center to anywhere on the game board. It has this power of however many wolves were left. We had 2 there, 1 there, 1 over there. And so it now has a power of 4 represented in our version on the tabletop simulator with these white marbles. In the actual game, you just have the standard yellow marbles still, and that's what we're planning on being in the game at this point in time. And you would just leave 4 there and put the other ones aside. That's only going to become a factor if, let's say, there's only 1 marble left or even no marbles, because it can't attack, but the cultists are still out there and it can still move around. But so it doesn't have any attack marbles. But then you attack the cultist will need marbles to defend itself, so you'll still have to use some yellow ones. So I recommend just however many and what's in the rules, however many wolves are left, you put 1 marble for each one, and then you just remove the rest to the box. If you need them, they're there for the cultists or something, and that's fine. So the attack strength is now 4, and you cannot, or the sheep are not allowed to attack the angel. They cannot attack it. It has an infinite amount of strength. You will never hurt it. So that's the big baddie that we are up against. So that's what you do when you hit the end times. Again, you're going to flip over the center tile. You're going to bring out the angel. All the wolves are removed from the playfield and turned into the marbles for the angel. So you're just going to keep that many marbles and get rid of the others. The cultists stay where they are, but that is now the movement that we officially have. When the end game happens, that doesn't mean that the players have finished their turn. We still have Blackberry, who has neither moved nor done anything. So Blackberry can attack the cultist. And then we also have these 2 characters who have yet to move. So they can move to positions to try to get away to fight the cultist. So let's play through this a little bit. We'll see how it goes. So again, Blackberry is going to attack. Everybody's in good health, so no one's been corrupted yet to this point. We're going to have 3 for the attack for Blackberry. This is how we do the attacks. And again, there's a whole thing on combat. 2 for the defense of the cultist, and then we're just going to run them together. One thing I didn't cover. Once the angel moves in, you can actually take the shepherd and just return it to the shepherd's starting spot. None of these Shepherd's Way tiles will have any effect from here on out. We're all done with the shepherd and the Shepherd's Way. Okay, we had a situation where Blackberry won, so we would remove this cultist. And then let's say these 2 just decide, all right, you're going to move up to there, and you're just going to move to, you need to get to a new cultist, so you're going to go this way. And now we're going to see what happens. We're all done moving. We can still rotate tiles. Same rules apply. You can't rotate ones that cultists on. These 2 could rotate, but they really don't want to. There's no reason to. So we skip the rotation part, and then we move on to the cultists moving. Cultists are going to move 1, and cultists are going to move 1 on the fastest path. They're still trying to get here, even though that's a normal one. It's still their sacrificial altar. We just treat it as a normal tile for everyone else. There's no wolves left, but this is where we get to the shepherd's turn again. First, we make sure we don't have any of our power-ups. There's nothing left out here, so there's no way we can keep power-ups through a turn. And now it's the angel's turn. Angel is going to go in the most direct path up to the number of cultists, so it can move up to 1, 2 now towards the nearest sheep, and it doesn't care about walls. So it's going to go for one of these 2. That means, tell you what, let's just go to this one, and now it's going to make the choice from there. Is it going to go in a green direction, or is it going to go in an orange direction? And we are going to use the fate box to determine that, and it's going in the orange direction. And so it goes over to Blackberry. It's a standard competition now. So all of the marbles from the angel are going to go in, and Blackberry has her normal defense of 2. And now if we don't have any, you're never going to be able to have any of the defense ones, the books, which is good that we have it just saying the wolf then, because you'll never be able to defend yourself that way. So it's basically a straight battle. And in this case, the angel won. And now, even though Blackberry has not been corrupted, Blackberry is out. Blackberry is out of the game. The same rules apply that we have with the general for a wolf. As we move along, and it is now up to our players to move, Lily cannot move through the spot where the angel is at. If it was both her and Blackberry that were taking on the angel and they lost, we would do a fate box roll to determine which of them were killed, and then the one that was still alive could move away, but they just can't move across it. So that's the challenge that we have here. Melbrook is going to move forward, and Lily is just going to try to get away by going that direction. Lily can still get power-ups. She can still use that power. So she's going to grab a little skull power-up, and now you've got Melbrook versus a cultist over here. And so we do that battle real quick. Melbrook is going to have 2. The cultist is going to have its defensive 2, but since we're going to burn this, that's going to reduce it down to 1. There it goes. And so now we see how this turns out. And the cultists have been defeated. And that means, of course, now that the angel has 1 less movement. It can only move 1 now. So you can see now we're really slowing that angel down. Let's see, everybody has moved. We can still rotate, but it really only affects the cultist. And so we're going to skip our rotations. We don't care. Skip all this stuff, and we're right back to the shepherd's move again. And the angel can only move 1. So it's going to move 1 in the closest possible path. 1, 2, 3, 1, or it can go 1, 2, 3. So there is a choice of which direction it can go. So we're going to go ahead and use our fate box. And it looks like it's going to go, is it going to be the blue path or the red path? And we get to red first, so it's going straight there. And now it is our, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the cultist move. The cultist should have had a chance to move, and the cultist would have moved to there. So then we moved, and now it's back to our characters. And so what Lily could do right now is she can get a map, which is going to, and they're going to use it right now, and allow Melbrook to go 1, 2, and go right through that wall, because this is where the cultist is going to go next. You can see it's coming down to the wire. And now this is the same distance. The angel will go straight through that center. So Lily is going to sacrifice herself and see how she does while Melbrook goes there, because the cultist is going to go here next time, and we will see what happens. So they've all done their moves. Melbrook has the ability to rotate tiles, so she's going to rotate it that way. And so that's how she does her tile rotation. Now the cultist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has a choice. It can either go left or right. So that's either the red direction or the orange direction. So it's going to do a quick shuffle, and it's going to go the orange direction. So it's going this way. So well done you, Melbrook. You've moved it off, but it's going to be harder for you to get to it next turn, and you're going to have the angel after you. So we'll see how this turns out. And after they have moved, we are now, so the cultists have moved, we're now back to the angel, which in this case is going straight for our little hero. Still has the same attack. That doesn't change based on how many cultists there are. And Lily, of course, only has a defensive 1. Good luck, Lily. We love you. Hang in there, girl. Believe in yourself. Oh, no, she's dead. And now that just leaves Melbrook and the angel, but the angel can only move 1 at a time. And so Melbrook is going to move out to here and just basically can't get all the way to it. It's going to have to wait an extra turn, but that's okay. It's not going to turn anything. And so now we're going to get to the cultist move. This is the fastest path on its move. Then we get to the angel, and it can go here or here. Really kind of doesn't matter. So we're just going to move angel there. And now it's up to Melbrook. Melbrook, can you kill this cultist? If she can't, she still has a chance, but hopefully this will do it. So Melbrook, you've got 2. And the cultist has 2. Bam, bam. And so let's see what happens in this situation. Defeated. Dun, dun, dun. And so we kick that cultist out of there. Oh, what cheesy animation. Yes, so we have won and we have conquered. That's one way it could have happened. And we're here at the end game. One thing is they don't have to close it the very first thing. So we got Blackberry taking on these 2 wolves. The wolves have a defense of 2, but Blackberry has an attack of 3. So she could wipe out all 3 of them. So the wolves were wiped out. Now R2 do the last one, and we get rid of this. And that brings in, we flip this board, bring in the angel, and then down here we're going to flip this. And that's actually pretty accurate because there is no attack ability. We would take all these marbles and get rid of them because there's no attack ability for the angel. But the angel still has a movement of 1, 2, 3. Now you're probably thinking, what can an angel do with a movement of 1, 2, 3? It's going to do the same thing. And when it goes to it, that's going to keep that character from being able to rotate the hex and keep other characters from going through that spot. So it might be an actual effective blocking mechanism, but it also is probably pretty crippled at this point. So the idea that I'm trying to get to you is you might want to take, if you have the ability, like at the end, we had 3 sheep here, and this gate only required 2 of the icons. So the 1 sheep could do something else. It could attack another cultist, which would have slowed down the angel. Instead, it took out only 2 wolves that I said were on the play field at this time, which dropped the angel down to no ability to attack. The players still have to wipe out all the cultists, and if you're doing the fate box, it might be the fates are against you, so you want to maybe team up as best you can or do something where Lily gets an extra power thing and then the other 2 go, and that counts as 3 or whatever. So there's ways to play it, but you might not want to wipe out the angel at the very beginning. If the angel had defeated all of the players, of course, then the players would have lost. If one of the cultists had actually been able to make it into the center, the players would have lost as well. So it's not over once you get into the end game. It is possible for the shepherd to still conquer and win once the angel's there. But those are all the different things you to think about during the end game. It's in the rulebook, and I hope you enjoy playing the game. Thanks.